Hello, friends and enemies. Today we are doing something I haven't done in a very long time, a review of a compilation album. The compilation album in question is the first Memorias de un Continente compilation by Infravox Records. Infravox Records is a Lima, Peru-based record label that produces independent electronic music by bands from throughout Latin America. They mostly focus on minimal synth and coldwave, but sometimes they stray a bit outside of that. This particular compilation, the first of their Memorias de un Continente compilations, they have 3 thus far, and maybe I'll review all of them. These albums represent the label pretty well, alternative synth acts from throughout Latin America. In spite of the title, it's not just one continent. They've got South America, and they've got Mexico, Cuba, some other places. Not everything on this album qualifies as goth specifically, but many of them are. I'm guessing most of you who follow me are probably goth music fans first and foremost, so I'll be sure to emphasize the ones that are more gothy. Some of these bands you might already be familiar with if you follow my other social media accounts where I share songs regularly, although I've only done an album review for an album of only one of the bands featured. A few of these bands thus far have only showed up on compilations, so that's not surprising. Another thing, there were no lyrics listed in Bandcamp. Some of the songs were in Spanish, some were in English. My Spanish is already iffy, and even for the songs that were in English, the lyrics weren't very clear all the time due to the nature of the vocals of this genre. Also, as a lot of you who follow me on other platforms know, I do have audio processing disorder, so I'm not going to bother deciphering and interpreting them in this video. We'll just be talking about how the songs sound and maybe some other fun things about the bands included. On with the album. Our first song is Constellaciones, meaning constellations, in case any of you couldn't figure that out, by Stockhausen, a coldwave artist from Mexico who seems to collab with as many female goth singers from Latin America and even some outside as he can, but not on this song. This is just him. This song has a very coldwave typical feel with that simplistic synth in minor and the lugubrious vocals that have a dissonant overdub to them. We have a few different synth sounds, a rhythm synth, which is more bloopy, and the main one, which is more legato. All of you synth goths will love it. Next up is Crushed by Glooniverse, an Ecuadorian synth act. Fun fact, on this band's personal Bandcamp page, one of the genres they have themselves listed as is whatever wave. So they can't really be put into a specific subgenre other than uses synthesizers and some kind of wave. The vocals, of what little there are, aren't really decipherable, even for people with normal hearing skills out there, because they're so worked with and have this metallic sound. The synth is at its bloopiest throughout. Following that is Sounds of Memories by Brazilian coldwave band Wonder Dark. The lead singer has that sort of shouty, talky type of sound that's typical of female lead singers in these types of alternative synthesizer-driven bands. The synthesizer has that sort of accordion, organ, circus sound to it that is very early new wave. The layers pile up and get a little more dancey as it goes on. I'm tempted to say upbeat, but it seems inaccurate as it is all in minor. Next, we have Distancia Rescate, meaning rescue distance, by Argentine darkwave and post-punk band Telepantallas, meaning TV screens. This is a lot more heavy in the minimal synth than your typical darkwave band, so it does still fit in with the coldwave minimal synth theme. However, the strong, deep, dour vocals that we can actually understand instead of being lost in dissonance are what make it different in terms of genre, as well as having a more likely drum machine that is a bit more complex. The following song is Persona Non Grata, yes, as in the legal term, by Varsovia, the synth punk band from Peru, who you may remember from when I reviewed their 2014 album Recursos Inhumanos. This is the most dancey song yet, very bouncy, like if Oingo Boingo was more minimal and had a female singer, in this case, Sherry Corleone. Once again, we have that shouty, talky female vocalization that's typical of these sorts of genres. There's also a bloopy, robot-sounding breakdown where Sherry gives us, and a part where Sherry gives us an evil laugh, which I appreciated. Very Halloween. Side note, while synthpunk is currently often lumped in with goth or various pre-existing electronic genres, I think a whole new genre and possibly subculture around it is developing, which, spoiler alert, I may talk about Next up, we have Don't Be Afraid by Argentine minimal synth project Serious Wave. This song gave me flashbacks to the only rave I've ever been to, but that's another story for another day. I wouldn't call this song techno, but the melody and instrumentation and the drops at least made it techno adjacent, and not just because it's electronic. If you want to get your goth or synth or whatever party dancing but not as excited as in the previous song, this is a good one to go with. We have a return of those dissonant minor male vocals. After that song, we have Until Death by Colombian alternative lo-fi singer Ferdinand Carclash. This song is very Construction Time Again, Some Great Reward era Depeche Mode in sound, if they were more disco and had less of a budget. Something about his voice, and I think I'm probably the only one who thinks this, almost gives me Fred Schneider vibes if he was more mumbly. Our next song is Llévame, meaning Ride Me, okay, by Imágenes en Oscuridad, which is Images of Darkness, a Cuban darkwave and synth-pop act, or at least that's how I'm describing them, because their two appearances on this compilations are literally the only place I can find them. I feel that probably fits in a bit better with the more typical goth mix than the others, if only because of the nature of the main singer's vocals, also the name of the band. He has one of those talky, moany verses even. Following that, we have El paisaje está cambiando, meaning the landscape is changing, by De lo espiritual en el plástico, meaning of the spiritual in the plastic, from Argentina. This is another band I can find nothing about outside of their inclusion on this compilation. If I had to describe them genre-wise, I'd say spooky lo-fi. Seriously, this piece, and it is a piece, not a song, because there are no words. It isn't sung. Sounds like an old-timey video game music. Some of the sounds even remind me of the sound effects from back when I'd play Asteroids on my computer. It's also got this tick-tocky clock sound throughout. This is definitely like an in-between part of the game where you're in the hallway and there's a lot of idle animation going on. After that, we have Lovers by Partial Objects, a dark, minimal synthwave band from Brazil. This is another one where the vocals and melody put it more in the goth category, but it's more minimal with that bloopy instrumentation we're used to, so my goth followers who are more synth-tolerant will like this one. Next song is Sueños Oscuros, meaning Dark Dreams, by Venezuelan minimal synth and post-punk band Anti-Dolby. This one starts us out with this real good percussive sound. Then it sounds like we're going through a tunnel, joined by some Halloween, haunted house, spooky goodness. Once the vocals do start, they have that more flat sound that's more associated with male electronic bands, but there's definitely a lot of movement in this piece. Seriously, play this song at your haunted house rave. In case you couldn't guess by the title of the song, this is another one that my goth followers will like, at least if you're one of the spooky Halloween and electronic music varieties of goth, which I am. The following song is Cold Love by Colombian coldwave and minimal synth band Synthetic Division. This song has a sort of fuzzy staticiness to it, and our vocals are a metallic robot voice. There's a lot of sounds I associate with computers, like that blinky dial noise used throughout, on top of the typical synthesizer music in minor, but there's some build throughout the song. The last song is The Fall by Mexican post-punk and modern new wave band Neustraussen, meaning New Roads, but in German, not Spanish this time. And what a way it is to end! There are a lot of those electronic sounds that give you that fast-moving feeling, hence The Fall, I suppose, or maybe it's supposed to be about the season, I don't know. Once again, we have that dissonant, talk-singy male vocals. Those of you who are fans of non-synthesizer and drum machine instruments will be very happy to know that we hear what sounds like an actual guitar. Two, in fact. The lead guitar sounds a little bit more surf, while the rhythm has that more typical goth, post-punk type of guitar with the twangliness to it. However, there's still plenty of bloopy synth to go around. Because I assume most everyone watching me is already a regular follower of mine, I probably don't have to mention that I like this album because I don't review albums I don't like because I'm not getting paid for this. I will mention that as compilation albums that I've reviewed go, this is probably one of the ones I've enjoyed more because, first off, there's no industrial music on it the way there have been on the other compilations I've talked about. Secondly, coldwave is probably my second favorite goth subgenre after death rock, before some know-it-all comes in saying technically death rock and coldwave aren't goth because goth started in the UK and death rock is originally from Los Angeles and coldwave is originally from France. I don't care. They're definitely part of the goth melting pot now. Or is it salad bowl? Lastly, even among the songs that aren't goth specifically, as far as non-goth specific music goes, new wave is one of my big favorites, and this is very reminiscent of the super old school blippy bloopy new wave songs from back before new wave became more mainstream. This compilation is basically Daniel Miller's dream come true. If you're a fan of bloopy early new wave sound, especially with a dark twist, I highly recommend looking into this album. Below I have the Bandcamp link so that you can listen to it for yourself. If you've made it this far into the video, please comment with the snowman emoji down below because it's cold. Get it? Like cold wave? Haha. If you like my content and would like more, please subscribe and follow me on my other social media accounts also linked below. Thanks for watching.